What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the most flaccid celery, back again with an interview, joined by Elijah, Jess, and Jake Segura of Citizen Soldier. If we are the problem, this man is the solution. Go ahead, Elijah.
Alrighty, so we're kicking off the interview pretty much by doing this in three sections. The first one is merchandise-related questions, which I'll be covering. The second is band-related questions, which is going to be covered by Jess. And the third one is song/album-related questions, which will be covered by Antonio. I'll kick us off, though, with the first question here. So we've kind of got a bit of a document laid out in front of us. The first question here is, will there be any new shirt designs with the band's image on the front, or maybe putting art on the front and kind of enlarging the logo? I guess kind of like having the band's logo on front, a lot more in the designs, maybe?
Yeah, I think we have ideas for that. And I apologize. We were talking about this earlier. I have a sick girl at home, and I've been rehearsing for tour, so my voice is shot. I'll try not to squeak. That's a great question for Kyle. From what I've seen, he kind of takes it design by design, especially when it comes to the song-specific shirts. He's just all about what makes this, like what captures the emotion of the song best for this shirt, you know? So I think you'll see more of that. We have a new design coming out for fall. We obviously have our Icarus bundle coming out at the end of the year that you'll see some stuff for that too. And he just designed a shirt for Burden that's only going to be available for our tour. That's like my favorite design he's ever done. So he has a lot of great things cooking right now. As far as like the logo on the front, we do want to have some more like shirts that are more focused just on the branding of the band and the logo, and like this complex art for each song as well. We want to have balance for both. So yeah, we're working on it. You know, it's tough because it costs significantly more to print on both sides. So every now and then we'll do it, but sometimes we'll do it and that shirt doesn't do very well, and we're like, oh, maybe we should just keep it simple. So that's my long way of not answering your question. But what I'm to say is we have lots of designs coming for fall and for the Icarus bundle, and we're considering doing like a throwback week-long flash sale for all the song-specific shirts we've done so far, and give people the opportunity to buy them that haven't yet. Although we're torn on that, because I think half the band is like, that'd be cool, and half the band is like, is that just disrespectful to the people who bought that shirt and felt pressured because it was a limited run? You know what I mean? We're trying to balance that. Yeah.
I suggested to them that you should do a group code for anybody in the Citizen Soldier family group just to get those specific shirts.
That's a great idea. I love that. I think that's awesome.
That's crazy. Yeah, we were just discussing that just before, actually. So that was another question that was further down the list. So I won't ask that now. The next question is, do you plan on selling more zip hoodies in the future?
I think we have one for this fall tour. I think. I'm not sure. I remember Kyle talking to me, and Kyle's done all the research on this. He's the master of merch, and he knows everything. But he was telling me something about whether like either zip up or non-zip up sell a lot better, one over the other. I'm like you. I like the zip up more than the pullover. I don't like 3/4 zip up or whatever. I like an all the way down zip up. But I think we're either doing that for the fall tour or for the fall merch line, the online merch line. I'm not sure which, but yes, we'd like to do something like that because we've done the pullover hoodies forever.
Oh, perfect. The next question is, I'm sorry if I'm a little awkward, by the way. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm a little bit disorientated. The next question was, because I know at the moment on your website you have phone cases on there. I've had a few people kind of ask and wonder if there'd be any maybe like Android/Samsung cases maybe one day.
So I didn't know we had a phone case for sale. So that's a good question. We can't just discriminate our Android users. We got to show love. So I'll bring that up to the team. I think it'd be good to have both. I think if we're gonna do phone cases, we need to do both.
Cool. Yeah, they're nice. I just like that whole simple logo thing on the back. Another question on this list was, so I think last year it was you did a giveaway with the I'm Not Okay guitar that you used. Is there anything else like that maybe going to happen again this year or in the future at some point?
Yeah. Um, so it's kind of cool. Where is it? I think it's in storage or in my closet. You can see the guitars on my wall. I have a Telecaster. I'm not giving this away. I'm too selfish to give this one away. I have a Telecaster that we recorded Where Were You, Rock Bottom, and Burden on. And the guys have joked about giving that away, and I'm like, I'm not ready to give that one away, but someday, I don't like holding on to stuff forever. Like it's cool to have stuff on the wall, but at some point it's like you want someone to have it that's gonna get a lot more joy out of it than you.
Yeah.
No one's knocking down my door saying, Jake, I got to see your music room. I want to see all the memorabilia. Like no one cares. So
Mhm.
I think eventually I'd like for everyone, for the people who would like appreciate it the most to own it. As far as like giveaways in general, that was a really like circumstantial thing because Juanita um, had that guitar, and I was like, we tracked down that okay on that, right? And he was like, yeah. And he was looking to replace or upgrade his acoustic anyway. And I was like, don't, like, one, I will buy that from you just to own it myself. Two, like, we should, like, let a fan own that if you're going to get rid of it. We don't want some random person off Craigslist owning that guitar. That's not going to, recognize what it is. So,
Yeah.
as far as giveaways in the future that I know we're going to do, um, this like fall tour ticket sales are what they are. That's kind of like set in stone. We're only a week away. Um, this spring is really big for us. Like we're going to be announcing our spring headlining tour probably 6, 7 months in advance. We're probably going to announce it even before the holidays start. So probably like a mid-November announce. And it's a stacked bill. It's a 4-band bill. We have a band playing right with us that I listened to in high school, and has been a huge influence on me that we're excited to share the stage with. And then we have two bands below us. I don't say below us like they're below us. I hope you get what I'm saying. Playing before us, that are just really like hot, new, fresh bands that are getting a lot of big tours and have a lot of momentum. So it's a really good mix of established active rock bands and some new hot bands as well. And we're playing the biggest rooms we've ever played in our career. To kind of tease you a little bit, we're doing the Fillmore in Denver, which is like a 3 to 4 thousand cap room. We're doing the Complex in Salt Lake City again. We're doing basically 1,000 to 1,500 cap rooms um, all across the Midwest and East Coast. So all of our biggest markets are in that area, and it's a big step for us. Like it's a big moment to try and establish because it's a risk, right? And you want to show that you're still growing and that you're still moving in the right direction. So we're going to be doing all sorts of things to motivate fans to be involved in VIP and to buy tickets early because that obviously helps us. We're going to be expanding our VIP by 20 extra tickets for soundcheck and 5 for bus because we sold out both on our previous spring tour, the group therapy tour. So we're going to be doing some giveaways. We talked about doing like a $500 merch bundle for anyone that buys a ticket in the first month of tickets going on sales. There's a massive merch giveaway. We have an unreleased song that didn't make Icarus that we listened back to. It was actually written by me to be a collab between me and between us and Smash Into Pieces, and it didn't end up happening. But we were like, so that's been sitting in our drive, and we're like, what is this song? What's going to happen to it? And I'll tell you guys, the song's called Kryptonite, and it's just sitting there. And so we're like, what if we do something like, buy a VIP ticket, get an instant download to this song Kryptonite. We have an acoustic version of Face to Face that we have recorded that we're really excited about. We're going to be performing that version of Face to Face on the Theory of a Dead Man tour this fall, and so that's another song that we're thinking about. Maybe you buy a ticket within the first 6 weeks or whatever, and you get an instant download of Face to Face acoustic. So we're thinking about all these different things we could do. We're also going to absolutely do like a golden ticket giveaway in the spring, which will basically be you have to buy your own ticket to the show and you have to get to the show. But once you're at the show, you are like part of our crew. So essentially, we're gonna like stock you up in merch. We're gonna get you decked out in gear. You're gonna come get dinner with us. We're gonna have you backstage the whole show. You're gonna be side stage for the actual performance. You get to be part of both VIP experiences. So basically, just giving away like the ultimate VIP package as well. So we're not giving away a guitar. I'm not sure we're doing any specific giveaways for Icarus. The only change for Icarus is we're doing vinyl for the first time, which we're excited about. But those are kind of the giveaways that I can tease. Is they're going to be much more tailored towards Icarus is doing great. We're not super worried about the streams or that. We're really focused on how do we get people to those shows.
Of course. Can I ask a follow-up question to what you were just saying just before about Kryptonite and the face-to-face thing? Say if you did the idea of making them like buy a ticket, get them like instant downloaded and stuff, would they come out eventually, or would they stay as those downloadable things?
You want to, yeah, we talk about this a lot because we're like, people are going to hate us either way because people are going to be like, I want this VIP package to get this, and now it's out.
Yeah.
And other people will be like, oh, you're pricing out your fans that can't afford stuff. And like, here's the brutally honest truth on my end. We put out so much music. We put out more music than any other band. So like, I feel like I've demonstrated that I'm a pretty empathetic person. But if I hear somebody complaining about like we're entitled to more music, I'm going to be like, okay, spare me that. I'm not taking the bait on that one. But what I will say is like, I think whenever a fan's upset, it's easy for us to get in our feelings, but something we have to ground ourselves and remind ourselves of is like, this person cares deeply about the music. And that's why they're frustrated, right? So I think a good compromise would be having one song be for VIP purchases and having the other be for ticket purchases. So one's much more affordable. And I will also say that, yes, I think they would come out eventually, but we would space it out enough so it's like, so the fans who bought it are like, okay, that was worth it. I got to hear it way earlier than everybody else, right? And then everyone else, it's like, hey, you still got to hear it. You're still going to be able to stream it the rest of forever. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I feel like I have one question that ties into that kind of. These people that share like full-length songs that haven't been released from your concerts, like without your permission, how do you feel about that? Are you okay with it? Do you not want them to post it?
I need to be careful with what I say at shows because I'll be like, hey guys, like, don't share this, like let it be a surprise. And then someone will share it and people will jump down their throats. And I have to be like, hey, like we kind of get that like by playing this live, it's inevitable this is gonna leak out. So we don't want anyone getting like attacked for sharing something. Like it's not the end of the world. The bottom line is if we're performing something where cell phones are present, that's a risk that we're taking as a band, right? So I've learned, like, because we experienced that with Burden, right? And I appreciate that people are so respectful of my wishes because I saw people who were like, hey, Jake did not want this to happen, blah, 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 blah. And I really appreciate that. But I think in the future, I'm just going to be like, if we're playing this live, you guys can do with it what you want. That's your prerogative because we're making the choice to make it public. It's like TikTok, right? Like, I personally don't like that we're in a day and age of music where I have to tease so much up front and not let it be more of a surprise. Like the next record we're working on is a concept record. It's a story from beginning to end. And I'm like, man, I just wish that we could wait and just like let the release be the first time they hear any of these songs, but we just like that's the only way we grow as an independent band. We have to tease on these platforms. It's everything to us. It's how we've gotten to where we are today. So to answer your question, Jess, I'm not worried about it. No one's losing sleep about it. The band isn't sitting there saying like, "Oh my gosh, this is on YouTube. Oh, they leaked it." Like, it's part of who this band is. We're always like going to be teasing songs that aren't released yet and engaging people's interests. So, we're neutral.
Okay.
And I will say really quickly, when it happened most recently where somebody had posted a large portion of you guys performing Burden in the group like 2 months before the song released. There was a lot of people. It was back like both ways. I, as an admin of that page, I was like, look, it's not like it's completely violating the rules of the page. I said very politely, respectfully, like Jake asked it not to be teased, and that has been said. He said don't release it before it comes out. He wants everyone to be able to fully enjoy their first listen, and I left it at that. I didn't go any further beyond that. I try to be respectful of everyone. I'm human though.
I think you all do an amazing job. I think I've seen a couple comments, and I'm not even sure if it was in the militia group, where people, I'm like, okay, guys, like, we don't need to, be this aggressive about it. It's all good. But you guys were working based on the information that you had, which was I had said that, and you guys were respecting that and honoring that. So if anyone made a mistake, it was me. I think that it's naive of me to think that I can make a statement like that and people aren't going to share stuff and people aren't going to, like, curiosity just gets you. Like some people just cannot help themselves. So that's on me. That's 100% on me. And I think it's just important to make it clear that, moving forward, I think people just can share what they want to share. And if people don't want to have it spoiled for them, they can scroll past. I think that's probably the best policy to have moving forward.
A couple more questions for merchandise stuff. Just a few though, some of which we've already kind of covered already, so I'll quickly skim through them. So you mentioned very briefly just before about the bundle of Icarus coming up. Is it going to be the same as ICU with the vinyl included, or is it going to be some changes maybe, or?
I think Kyle and I were arguing about this. I think he doesn't want to do CDs. And I was like, people want CDs, Kyle. So if you see this interview, comment and let them know what you think. I think having both options is good. I think people who can't afford vinyl like the smaller, less expensive option. But I think some people believe that, like, oh, CDs are obsolete, no one cares anymore. I'm not sure I agree with that. Especially since our ITU bundle did so well. It's going to be very similar. I think he's done some, like, brief, like, small tweaks to it on the small items, like, I can't even remember what we did for the ICU bundle. Like, we'll do like keychains, and I think he talked about doing some specialty stickers, like some more like fun, quirky, like images of the band members or like things they like, or just like weird little throw-ins that, kind of like trading cards, like little collectibles that you throw in and you keep forever. So we're thinking about doing little things like that. The big items though are not going to be changing. There's going to be a T-shirt. There's going to be like a CD or vinyl and like a wristband. So that's kind of the core of it, and we're working on kind of messing with the smaller items.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that.
One of the stickers may or may not end up being one of the many memes that Zach makes.
That would be the worst idea. We've talked about doing a big T-shirt, and all it is the outline of Juanita's glasses and his goatee, like the blue goatee and his glasses, and you just wear it and you are Juanita. That's my number one merch idea right now. He's not really into that, but
we were wanting to ask a question about Juanita since you're talking about him.
Good. I can talk about him for hours.
Why does he always wear a jacket at the concerts? I notice he never takes it off. He always has his jacket on.
You and me and Matt and Kyle and Cooper are all asking the same questions, and none of us have answers. Like we'll get off stage, and I'll wear my jacket for the first song, right? And then I'll take it off, and I'm like, dude, I'm dying. How are you wearing that at the end of the show? I think he just likes to look sharp. I think he takes a lot of time to think about his image, and he's always the guy who's like Matt could be up there in shorts and a t-shirt, right? Like, he doesn't care. Like, he's all about just, good vibes, and he's more laid back in that regard. And Juanita's the one who's like, okay, does everyone have their outfits? Like, we need to look like a real band. We need to, put our best foot forward, which is important, right? You can't be up at a festival wearing your Utah Jazz t-shirt and your gym shorts, right? You gotta look the part. And so I think he wants to, put his best foot forward, and, beauty is pain. Maybe that's kind of his perspective on it, is I want wear this awesome jacket that I bought for the whole show, and if I pass out of heat stroke halfway through, then so be it. I don't know. You guys will have to ask him too. I'd be interested to hear his answer.
Oh. Oh no! Wait, what was that? Oh, okay. You taking up? You me? Okay, alrighty.
Yeah, back to
So
you, Elijah.
you're welcome. Next question here was, we did cover this briefly before again, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there any plans to do reruns of previously limited shirts, whether that be song shirts or ones that have come from previous seasons?
Maybe we're trying to. The argument is, like I said, is that disrespectful to fans who felt pressured to jump on that sale? Or is it more, is it good to give people a second chance, Where it is, being in a band and being a public figure, you always worry a little bit about pissing people off, for lack of a better term. Like, you just can't please everybody. I mean, I can't even read comments anymore on the song releases because it's just like, it's impossible. People are like, we need heavier stuff, and you release heavier stuff, and they're like, I missed the ballads, and you release the ballads, and they're like, this is, it's just like, you can't win. And so you gotta be careful with like we try to be mindful without getting obsessive, which is really hard because we really care about everyone who listens to our music and not hurting any feelings. But we also have to be cognizant of the fact that like, we're always gonna hurt somebody's feelings. Like it's inevitable. You can't please everybody. So I think if you were asking me what my vote is, I think that giving people one more shot at getting some of those older shirts is probably going to bring more joy overall than hurt. You know what I mean? Like if someone were like, well, no, but I bought that shirt when it came out, I'd be like, you don't want someone else to be able to enjoy it too? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I sit with it, but we'll see. I think the band's kind of split on it, so we'll decide soon.
Speaking as somebody that has a lot of your shirts like that, the only ones I get mad about are the tour shirts. Because you sold the acoustic shirt online, and I was like, come on, man.
Oh, so for those, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So basically, whatever we don't sell on tour, we basically go home and, it's either sitting in our garage or we can throw it up online. So if we sell out a tour worth of merch, you won't see it. If we have a bunch left over, we're essentially losing money on that order that we paid for. So that's kind of why that happens. So that's something that we won't necessarily have a position on because some tours it might happen, some tours it won't. But I get your frustration. I think that's valid.
Yeah. I only said that though because I was like, well, I mean, anybody could say they went to the acoustic tour now because they can just buy the shirt and say they went. But like,
I guess it's kind of a risk, right? Because it's like you might buy it and it'll sell out and it's a one of a kind, and there might be some left over and you don't really know. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that. That tour was a blast. What show were you at?
The one in Greensboro.
That was fun. Hangar 18.
That was actually my favorite show y'all did.
Yeah, we talked about more acoustic stuff, but we can get to that later. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, we have the questions.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for all of it.
Perfect. Well, I'll quickly wrap up the merch questions with two more. So the first one was, any more plans to have more like maybe hat designs come through in the future, like caps or beanies and stuff like that?
We will be selling beanies on the fall tour, on the Thank You for Hating Me tour. It's just a big black beanie with the logo small on the front. I think just like it is on your backdrop behind you, where the text is like across the logo.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's how it is. So we're going to be selling some more winter-based, winter-appropriate items on the fall tour. And we're touring the West Coast, which is kind of ironic, like the least cold right in the country. But yeah, we'll be releasing more of those. I think in the fall line too, we're going to have a beanie. So I'm not sure about hats. I think we try to save hats for spring and summer, but there will be a beanie.
Oh, sweet. And one last question for merchandise before we move on to part two. And this is kind of an interesting one for like international fans like myself. Is there any chance, I think you've briefly mentioned this before, about maybe seeing like a European distributor maybe come in the future at some point in time?
Yeah, it's something we talked about a lot. Um, if I'm being honest, I think right now, and this isn't probably the answer people want to hear, but it is just reality and totally honest. I think all five of us, being a band where we don't delegate much and we all independently run the band, I think everyone's just treading water right now. Um, Kyle is especially always a ball of stress, and I think like we're having to have some really tough conversations about like, is this sustainable forever? For us to not get any help on some of this stuff because it's just we do everything, and so it's something we talked about. I think right now, like that's something we have meetings where we have a Trello board of all the things that need to get done, and there's a board for like things that have to happen now and things that are on the back burner, and I think that's something that's kind of on the back burner, that's always there, and we're like, okay, we need to do that, but we gotta get the set ready for fall, we gotta get the Icarus rollout ready, we're saving and getting ready for the next record, we're doing these giveaways and these special events. So like, I think it's something that we need we need to slow down a little bit, like slow down enough to be able to just be like, okay, let's knock this out and get it done. We have talked to a couple people, I think, who have been options that didn't end up working out because it was going to be a lot more work and the price difference was going to be very marginal. Like we're looking for somebody who's going to make it significantly more affordable for our fans. And so, yes, that's my answer is we as a band need to, we keep joking about how we're going to take some time off and it just never happens because we're all just mentally ill and afraid of stopping. But we would benefit greatly, I think, from like and maybe this is what we do. I mean, we have a break this spring before the fall, before the spring tour, where we're going to be recording an album. But recording an album is a lot less intensive than being on the road. A lot of people are just chilling, sitting there, and so, that's probably something that's going to be on our list because we get a lot of feedback. I get emails all the time of like, hey, love what you're doing, want to support you, but I can't afford, $80 to get a t-shirt to Bulgaria, or Australia, right? So we want to make sure that that we're not just forever kicking that can down the road and kind of ignoring our fans across the pond. I will say that there is, and be careful with this. Well, when we get to touring, we can talk about that. I have some interesting Australia stuff we can talk about though. But
Sure. Well, thank you so much for answering all those questions, Jake. It means an absolute ton. I'll pass you on to Jess now for part two, which is pretty much just the tour band related questions and stuff. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I have paper because I'm old and I'm reading off my notes. So.
they're all good. I feel like an old man too. I have no energy. I'm just surviving.
Sorry. A lot of people were wondering how you met your bandmates.
It was like the Craigslist of Utah. It's called KSL. KSL is like the news organization, like a big news organization here in Utah, and they have like a classifieds section where you can post like if you're selling a TV or just like you would on Craigslist. And there's a band seeking members category, and I put you could probably, I think the listing might still be there. That would be fascinating to see if you guys can dig that up. But I think it's like band seeking members that are fans of Shinedown, Breaking Benjamin, Red. Like I put an ad out like that, and I drove like, and this was part of like, you guys have heard me talk about this. This was part of the passion project of getting the EP ready, the Caroline EP, right? And I don't want this to be misconstrued because I still stand by the fact that I was not looking to do this for a career. Like this was not about, really starting a band that would become a full-time job. This was, I want to find people who like these bands to be a part of this one-time thing. And I had to kind of tell some white lies along the way because people will be like, so like, are you in this for the long haul? And I'd be like, yeah, man, yeah, I'm excited about this. I want to do this. In the back of my mind, I was like, no, this is just a one-time thing, which ironically, joke's on me here I am now, still doing this, right? But I put ads on there, and man, I spent probably year and a half just driving all over the state to the middle of nowhere. Sometimes people wouldn't be there. Sometimes people just wouldn't dig the songs or the ideas. Some people were really mean. Some people were not in a position to be in a band and had some personal issues they needed to work through. Like I have an insane amount of stories of stuff that I've seen. A lot of people who are into rock music or want to play rock music have some vices. So that's something always to navigate, right? Is like, is this person going to be in a position to show up and be reliable? And finding, I mean, you can ask anyone in the industry this, like, you would be shocked the drama behind the scenes of some of these bands, even bands that you think are just killing it right now, right? Like, it's a dumpster fire. And, you know, I'm not trying to say we're perfect, but I think what our agent tells us all the time and what people tell us is that we're so low drama, you know, and I think we're easy to work with in that regard. And, you know, it doesn't mean we don't have our moments and our fights, because, you know, good couples, good relationships, they know how to fight productively, right? Healthily. But, yeah, I just spent time, you know, really trying to filter through to get to people that I trusted, and it's a freaking miracle that I'm still with the same group of guys that I found. You know, we met at this house in Lehi, Utah, which is right below Salt Lake City, and we rehearsed and we jammed this song called Soldier over and over because it was the only song that was really fully written. And I sent Cooper this instrumental for a song called 15 Minutes of Fame that didn't have lyrics yet, and he was like, this is kind of cool. He liked Coheed and Cambria and some of this more progressive stuff, and that song's has a lot more going on instrumentally than some of our songs. I sent, I think, Let It Burn to Juanita. I don't think that had lyrics on it yet or a top line. I mean, I was recording these by myself, kind of trying to use them to attract people, right? So, I mean, I showed these ideas to, you know, tons of people, and, you know, we got to our four guys, and we were there jamming Soldier. And it's funny, like, I tell Cooper all the time, I'm just blown away by how much he's grown, because he'll tell you this himself. This is not me being hard on him. But, like, he showed up and he jokes today. He's like, I knew 2 chords. Like, he showed up with his guitar, and he's someone who is just like, has just figured stuff out without any help the whole way. Like, figured out his new gear, figured out how to play the parts. Like, if I wrote a riff or he didn't write a riff for a certain song, he's just figuring out how to play it. Like, that's something that's just blown me away, is his ability to just like figure it out, you know? Like, hard work beats talent sometimes. And I'm not saying he's not talented, he's insanely talented, but that's something that stands out to me thinking about back on those days. In Juanita, we always tell this story because it's so funny. He came in one day and we were rehearsing, and he just kind of stood up against the wall and watched us. And the whole time we were like, who is this guy? Like, who invited him? And turns out drummer had invited him, and he was just standing there watching us. And afterwards, we ended up at like a restaurant having drinks and hanging out and eating with him, because he was a really cool guy. And we're like, yeah, we need a bassist. We don't need a guitarist. He was interested in guitar. We were like, we have 2 guitarists, but we're interested in bass. And he was like, okay, you know what? I think there's some potential. I think there's some work to be done, but I can see the potential. I'm in. And we left that day, and we're like, we just added him to the band, and we haven't heard him play. What just happened? Like, he just totally flipped the script on us, like total emotional manipulation. And then he comes the next week, and he's just, you know, he went and bought a bass. He didn't own a bass. He just went and bought a bass, and everyone in the band will tell you that Juanita is the best musician in the band. because he just, you see him play piano at our shows, you see him play bass at our shows. He's just very well rounded and really smart. And so, it's funny, he kind of came into the band that way. Matt was very much too good for us at first. He'll deny that. It's a fact. Matt, if you're watching this, I love making him uncomfortable, and I know he will be. He was having a hard time committing. He would show up, and then he wouldn't show up for 2 weeks, and then he would show up, and we'd be like, "Is this Matt guy in? What's going on?" And I think, to his defense, I'm not the vocalist I am. I wasn't the vocalist I am today, and some of those demos are a tough listen. And so I think he was probably wondering, like, I can hear the potential, but I'm not sure if this is something serious. And so, I think it took some time to get Matt on board and to show him the vision. I think as the songs were finalized, we released them, and he saw how people were responding, it kind of clicked for him. But we kind of, we had to sell ourselves to Matt a little bit. We had to convince him that this was the right place for him. But we ended up getting there, and I can say he's fully committed now, which we're very happy about. Matt, if you're watching this, thank you for finally believing in us. And Kyle came in after our first drummer and was just everything we needed. Cooper found him from a band that had just broken up in Salt Lake, and he came over, and he just was a great drummer from the beginning, and really likable and eager and smart, and he knew how to run gear. I mean, he has a background in tech, so he was just really someone that we knew could do more than just be a drummer, right? What you're seeing now, he's just nuts. He's tour managing and making merch designs and doing all these different things, and he's just brilliant. So that's probably a lot more background than you were wanting on the entire band.
I'm sure the fans will be happy and appreciative, so.
Yeah, I know I'm going to have to apologize to Matt over this because I love to give him a hard time. But the bottom line is everyone locked in, and it took some time to kind of figure out, like, we had some growing pains in figuring out where we all fit, like what are our strengths, where could we be the most effective as far as individually what we're working on. And that all took time, and it wasn't always a pretty process, but we figured it out. But it's crazy. Like, I tell the guys all the time, like, we all have very different beliefs, but I was like, it is like impossible for me to believe there's not some kind of higher power or karma, God, whatever you want to call it, because, like, the fact that the 4 or 5 of us found each other is insane. Like, you take one piece away, it's a totally different band, right? We probably wouldn't be able to run it the way that we do. Like, everyone just knows their job, and they do it so well. It's like a great sports team. It's like the running back isn't trying to lecture the quarterback on what they should be doing or micromanaging them. It's like everyone knows their job, they're masters of their craft, they show up and they execute. And I think everyone takes pride in that. I think Kyle takes pride in coming to us and being like, this shirt for Burden is crushing. It's our all-time high, and we're stoked for him. We're like, that's awesome, dude. You're crushing it. You're doing a great job. And, it doesn't hurt my feelings when Burden goes #1 on the rock charts for iTunes. I'm not mad about that. Like, it's about everyone just really knowing what their strength is and just zeroing in on that and doing it. And so the fact that it's lasted this long, that we haven't had any changes in members, the fact that it just came together through online ads. And the last thing I'll add, I'm just trying to think of, like, the little tidbits that I'd like to hear as a fan for my favorite bands. Cooper was the only exception to KSL, and I was getting burned out on KSL, so I looked at Craigslist. And Craigslist in Utah is not Craigslist in other places. Craigslist in Utah is, like, sketchy. It's like...
It's sketchy here.
It's
like
sketchy everywhere.
It's where people try to have affairs, right?
Yeah, that's everywhere.
or stabbed or whatever. So I don't know why I was on Craigslist. I was probably desperate, and I found a listing, and the name on it was Cooper spelled with a K. And my first thought was, who the hell spells the name Cooper with a K? Yeah, I'm gonna reach out. And so I texted him and I sent him 15 minutes of fame, but we still laugh that I still tell Cooper sometimes that he's my Craigslist hookup. And so, but it's bizarre. Like we will be like we went to Mexico to celebrate the release of ICU, and we were all in the pool together at this gorgeous place, and it was really like a really cool moment to be like, how did this happen? Like we went from a bunch of dudes who were very unserious, just jamming this song with out-of-tune guitars and really rough, really bad vocals in a basement, and this is what we do now. This is our job, and we're this beautiful place together, and we don't hate each other. That's crazy. It's a huge accomplishment. So many bands, the members just can't stand each other. You'd be shocked, and so yeah, it's wild. Very long-winded answer to your question, but I have a great appreciation for all those guys.
Hey, we appreciate the details, man. We appreciate your time in doing this. It's just awesome. I'm still in disbelief that we're here interviewing you.
No, this is fun. This is what makes it different. If we were people like fans come to us at shows and they're like, "It's so cool that you talk to your fans after the show. That's so like that's amazing." And I'm like, I'm not some hero for wanting to talk to the people that made this my job. Like if anything, like they're my heroes, right? Like I get to do this for a living. I get to wake up and think about what songs I want to be on the next record, not I gotta punch in at 9 a.m. Like those are the people who actually work hard, right?
I've been to other rock band shows, and some of them are like, no. Some of them just completely reject you, whether or not you came for them or whatever. It's like,
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not gonna name names, but there are a lot of bands in active rock adjacent to us that I've heard all sorts of stories about, and that's why we're so happy to be on tour with bands that have been the opposite, that have been really cool to their fans. I just don't get it. Like, I do know there's some of these band members, like, I come from a background where, like, I was on the debate team in high school. Like, I was in student body leadership. Like, I have my own weird, twisted version of social anxiety. I call it social paranoia because I think that's more fitting. But I do really like talking to people. Like that fills a cup for me. That fills a need for me. And so, like, it's not fair for me to judge people when it's maybe a little more natural and enjoyable for me to interact with people. Because I know some people, it's really like debilitating. It's really hard. It's like a huge drain. So like, I don't fault some band members who just really have some mental health struggles that make it difficult for them to interact on that basis. And I also, on this other side of it, I'm like, you have fans with massive social anxiety issues that are coming to a show with strobe lights and being packed in a room full of people, and they're making a big sacrifice to be there, and you can't make any time for them. Like, I'm not saying you have to go there and stand in a line and talk to every single person, right? Like, people appreciate any kind of effort. But some of these bands that play the set and go straight to their bus, or like avoid being around their fans, I don't get it. Like, what does that communicate? It's like it's very much communicating like you are less than, you're not worth my time. I just don't understand why you would ever want to make somebody feel that way. The only time where I feel like I kind of have to be incognito is if I'm at a venue and there's a line out front, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to all these people later, but right now I have a 90-minute window to go get lunch with my brother. I got to kind of slip out of here, right? And so there are moments like that where I do that. But you guys see it. Jess, you've seen it. Like, we stay after shows and we talk to every single person until the room's
and
empty.
I always worry about you because I always worry you're gonna get burnt out. But I do admire it so much too. Like,
You know what it is, though? It's like, and I'll be honest, like, yeah, like it's like being a therapist. Like, I will have some sessions where I get to my car and I'm just like, whew, like that was heavy. and I'm really feeling for that person, um, and that's part of what makes it beautiful. You know, like the fact that it hurts sometimes is how you know that it's special. You know, like I'll be in a big line, and afterwards, and the band can attest to this. Like after a big line, I'll go to the band and I'll be like, I need a cheeseburger and some really dumb jokes and really light conversation, right? Because that's what I need after that, right? I love, love, love hearing stories, and I love, being someone that people can talk to. And we all have we need balance, right? And so in the bus after a show, Citizen Soldier interacts like a bunch of 12-year-old kids. It's just very silly, it's very lighthearted because it can't be heavy all the time, right? There's got to be balance, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. There's a reason I won't stop doing it because it's like there are moments in that line that are like snapshots or like souvenirs that represent like the most important parts of that whole tour, right? If I'm gonna leave my family and my girls, which like, don't get me wrong, it's worth it, but like if we're booking a tour and some offers suck, I have no problem telling our agent like, hey, no, like if we're gonna leave our families, we need to like really make sure that we're maximizing our time away from home. And that's not just a money thing, it's an experience thing. It's like if I'm gonna leave my family, I want to make sure that I know that what I'm doing is actually doing some good for somebody, right? Like I need to hear that. That's what gets me to the next city. That's fuel. That's what motivates us to keep going. So it's kind of selfish in a way. You say it's cool that we do that for our fans, but it's kind of for me too. So I think it's mutually beneficial.
Well, one of the questions on here was actually, it was a fan on the group asking if, your interactions with them, if it matters to you or not. And I guess you inadvertently answered that question just now. That was a beautiful thing I just heard. Like, wow. Like,
Well, yeah, absolutely it does. I think someone telling me their story in person impacts me infinitely more than a comment online or a DM online. And I don't want to discourage people from online communication. I love that. It still means a lot to me. But you get desensitized. Like you see it so often that you're just kind of like, yeah, like I've seen like, and I have to practice grounding myself and slowing down and being like, I need to read this. This is a different person. This is a different situation. It's not all the same because your brain can just get used to stuff, right? And so, but in person, it's way easier to not fall into that trap because in person, that person's right in front of you, right? And so, and there's so much you can see. You can hear the inflection and the tone of their voice. You can hear the emotion. You can see the emotion on their face. Like that's infinitely more rewarding than just reading a comment online. So we'll never get tired of it. And this West Coast tour, we're excited because we're playing. I mean, being totally transparent, the West Coast is probably the market, the section of the country that we have the most growing to do in as far as our live shows. And it's going to be fun to be able to spend more one-on-one time with all the fans on this tour. Now that's the perspective we have on it. When you play HMAC and it's sold out, a lot of people you don't get to talk to because they see the line after the show and they're like, yeah, I'm going to Denny's instead. And I get it. Like it's just way too long to be waiting around. But sometimes it's fun to play that show where you're at the Queen in Wilmington. There's 250 people, and you can talk to every single one, and hang out. Like that's special too. So we don't take that for granted.
all right, I'll go ahead and move on, keep on trucking. There was a question on here was it hard to sing personal songs in front of strangers, for the first time on your acoustic tour? I personally know that because you were talking about it when you were singing Always December and Tattoos. Like, and Always December especially stuck with me because you were talking about how, it related to you and being numb to things that were so important to you in life. And like, it made me love the song even more just hearing you talk about it.
It's rare because when I'm on stage, um, learning how to sing as someone who had no training and didn't think this would be my job has been one of the hardest parts of my life. And that sounds so dramatic. I promise you it's not. The band has watched me wrestle with this. It's been insanely challenging for me. I've had so many highs and lows. I've blown out my voice at shows. I really had this negative core belief about myself for a long time that like something was wrong with me, like that I was broken, and that I'd never be able to like perform these songs live like they're recorded. And I still wrestle with that. We just had a really rough rehearsal for me yesterday, and it took me out the whole day. Like I couldn't function. I left early, and it happens, you know. And I think that because of that, when I'm on stage, I am so focused on the technique. You know, it's like when a quarterback snaps the ball. College football's on today. I'm obsessed with college football, so you're getting a lot of football metaphors today. But it's like when the quarterback snaps the ball, he has like, if he's lucky, the offensive line will give him like 4 seconds to make his reads. So look who's downfield, who's open, who's not open, and make a quick decision, right? I feel like singing is that moment over and over and over and over again. Like when I'm singing, what's a good example of this? When I'm singing Face to Face, and I'm on that verse, and I'm singing, I can't forgive, I can't forget. I'm like, okay, I'm going into my falsetto, back into my head voice, so I need to make sure that my diaphragm's supporting this, and that I don't run out of air, and that I don't push too hard, because when I push too hard, it'll go flat. Like, that's what's going on in my head when we're performing live. And so the challenge with singing is getting so comfortable with your muscle memory and your technique that you can get up there and just let it wail. Just let it fly, you know? And there are a few songs like that. Like on this end of this summer tour, I feel like for the first time in my career, I was getting to that point, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can sing and just have fun. This is awesome. But so to answer your question, and I hope this doesn't make people feel like we're not like emotionally connected to our songs, because of course we are. But sometimes I'm so in my brain about technique that I'm not really in my heart during certain moments on stage. But I think that's what makes it so special when I have those moments where I kind of slip back into my emotions, because that's what happened on that acoustic tour. Is I put in a lot of time, I practiced really hard, and for some reason, Always December and This Is Your Sign was just getting to me. Like I was getting choked up, and it was really annoying because it was throwing off my technique when I was getting choked up. But you know, people don't, like fans don't care about perfect technique. I think like people who listen to Citizen Soldier aren't sitting there looking at me and being like, oh man, Jake's out of shape, you know, his technique's off. It's like they're there for the songs, you know? And as long as the performance is good enough to not take away from the song, I think fans are really forgiving of mistakes, because it's not supposed to be perfect, right? That's what this whole project is about. But I think as musicians, we also like, we want to take pride in what we're doing, and we want to always be getting better. We don't want to use your guys' kindness as an excuse for mediocrity on our side, right? Because we have some big stages we're going to be on. You know what, I'll throw you a really juicy secret right now. When is this going to be posted?
The plan is to get this up either later today or tomorrow. Today is the 21st of September for those watching.
We are being announced for a main stage slot at Sonic Temple tomorrow. We are playing the same day as one of the most popular bands in rock history.
Is it Shinedown?
That recently just got a new singer, and I'll leave it at that. Leave it at that.
I knew exactly who it was the second you said
Leave
new
it at that.
singer.
So, you know, as cool as that is, that's cool. And you know what? Like, credit to the guys, like, credit to the band. We have, when you're trying to, like, crawl your way up the live show world, it's like, who's your manager? Who's your agent? Who's your label? Who owes you a favor? Are you willing to buy onto this tour? Like, the reason we got that slot is because we went to Columbus, Ohio, and we grinded and grinded and grinded with no help, with no manager, with no favors, with no connections. We opened for Smash Into Pieces. We went back to Scully's Music Diner and we sold it out by ourselves. Then we went back for the group therapy tour, and we sold out the Athenaeum Theater. My favorite show in the history of this band. If you were there, comment about it because I love that show. Amazing night. And so like our agent was able to go to the festival and be like, Citizen Soldier sold 1,500 tickets in Columbus. You know, there are bands on your main stage that haven't sold half that. And that's no knock at anybody, right? But like that's reality is like if you don't have favors and you don't have an in and you don't have the political connections, you have to go prove your worth. And so we're really excited about that show, one, because that market is like one of our favorites in the whole world because they've been so good to us. And two, like, you know, we had to show up for ourselves and make it happen. Like we had to force it and speak it into existence. So we're really, really excited about that show, about that spot. And, you know, I think that big band that we're opening for that I can't name, that you may or may not have guessed already, you know, I think we're going to be surrounded by thousands of people that are drawn to that band because they struggle with mental health issues, you know, so I think it's going to be huge for us as a band. Yeah, we're really, really, really excited.
Well, if we need to, we can wait to post the video till tomorrow if we need to.
Post it whenever you want.
I'm putting my nose to the grindstone as soon as this is done, getting this into my editing software, running over to grab my food, figuring out which take for the intro I'm going with, and just I'm getting straight to business as soon as this is done.
I love it. And technically I didn't spoil anything. I mean, I think Sonic Temple is announcing us tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow Sunday. Yeah, they're announcing us tomorrow. So, yeah, no, we're stoked. We're excited. And that's not the only major festival announcement for next year.
I'm
It's just the only one you can share.
We are hoping to be back in Florida again. I'll say that.
All right.
We were on the bus with you, and you were saying something along the lines of you didn't put titles on your songs, that you use diagnostic codes to title your songs. And I was wondering if you would explain that on here.
Yeah, I've always had this idea for a concept record where we have diagnostic codes, and each song is a different mental health disorder. It's like a different disorder from the DSM, the diagnostic statistic, the manual that therapists use, essentially. You know, I'll try to change my vernacular. Not everyone knows what that book is, and that's okay. It's something I've gone back and forth on for years because I thought it'd be really cool to have like from a branding perspective, that'd be a really powerful way to show the world who we are, right? I'm a therapist. I deal with these codes all the time. The thing that's kind of kept me from finally going forward with it, is I think, like, people have asked for a song about autism, people have asked for a song about dissociative identity disorder. When you write a song about something like that, you're kind of making a statement. You're saying this song represents the experience of this diagnosis. That's a bold move. And if you don't capture certain parts of it, or people feel like you misconstrue or misrepresent certain parts of it, like bipolar disorder, that's a really tricky one.
That's the one you were talking about on the bus.
People experience that very differently, and it's very misunderstood. So I think that the risk kind of outweighs the benefits at the moment, because we already release songs about all these things, right? And so it's looking less and less likely as time moves on, because I just think that the more I work as a therapist, the less I want people to attach themselves to a diagnosis. A diagnosis is just, it's a toolbox. It's, hey, here are some things that we think could help you make your life better and help you manage this more effectively. It's not who you are, it's not a label. It's just a guide, it's a compass, right? And so I'm noticing that people really latch on to a diagnosis when you give it to them. I'm probably more slow than most therapists to throw out a diagnosis. And people will ask me, like, am I this, am I that? And I'll be like, does it matter? Like, and that sounds insulting, but it's more like, if you're this or you're that, let's try things that help both. and let's see what helps you feel better. But but there's rarely a situation where I can't trace the dots back and be like, you went through this, it was traumatic, it really affected you, and now you feel this way. And that makes all the sense in the world. So really what I think you are is human, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to stigmatize people or have them stigmatize themselves. But sometimes people like sometimes a diagnosis helps people feel relief. Like, oh my gosh, okay, this has a name. Like I can look into things that will help me. Like this is helping me feel validated and seen. So it's kind of a person by person basis. I just think you have to be careful with it. So I've moved away from that idea a little bit more, but I will tell you, I will spoil a little something for you, Jess. The next record is being recorded in January, and the songs are picked out for it. They're not finished. The choruses and some of the songs are finished, but it's very much a concept record. And it's still influenced by personal experiences and by fan experiences, but it's way more heavily driven by client therapy experiences.
Well, you had said on the bus that it was related to family traumas.
Yes. So the overarching theme of the record is kind of the generational traumas that get passed down from, mom and dad to kids, cycles of abuse, um, and just basically like I see clients kind of come in and have to untangle all that, right? So the album, and it's going to be an album kind of like I See You or Scarecrow, where it's a longer record because it kind of starts off in the record is essentially the timeline of somebody getting therapy for complex trauma. Like this is the journey of somebody with CPTSD in therapy. And the beginning, the first track is a song that basically talks about like, I need someone to make sense of me. I need someone to help me understand what's going on. Like I'm totally lost. And then the last song is an empowering song about I don't have to be this thing that was handed down to me. I don't have to attach myself to this. I don't have to carry on these cycles forever. I can break it. And it has all sorts of highs and lows throughout. Like it's all the ups and downs of that journey, right? And every single song you can be like, tell me about where your client is with this song, and I can tell you exactly what I'm seeing in sessions, right? They're checked out, they're not really motivated, they're using a lot of dark humor. Like that's kind of what the song is about, is they're kind of like throwing in the towel for a minute because things are getting too overwhelming. And so like the album is going to capture all of that. And what's cool about it is someone who's been in therapy for those things is this will probably be their favorite Citizen Soldier record of all time. And I also think the songs are so appealing universally, thematically, that people are going to love them. There's a song called I Believe You on that record that's about sexual violence. And I think this band has needed to put out a song like that for a long time, and I think that's going to impact a lot of people. And you don't need to be someone who's in therapy to need to hear that, even if you haven't been a victim of that, if you've experienced other things or felt like you haven't been taken seriously, like, who doesn't need to hear that? Like, who doesn't need to be believed? So it's gonna be really cool to see like how people respond to an album that's more of a story, but also has concepts that can be helpful for anybody.
I'm going to tie in the next question together because there's two. They want to know if anybody likes AC/DC, but there's also a question that says, what kind of music do you like? Like, rock, pop, country. Like, what kind of bands do you like?
Man, everyone would have a different answer. I mean, Cooper loves Coheed and Cambria. Matt's into more guitar-driven stuff. He loves Pantera and that old kind of rock, metal. Kyle likes some more progressive stuff like Dream Theater, and he also listens to a lot of newer stuff as well. Juanita and I probably have a similar taste in music. Juanita and I just love good songwriting, anywhere you can find it. Like, we'll listen to Justin Bieber, We'll listen to new country stuff. We'll listen to new rock stuff because we just love good writing, right? Like he'll show me something and be like, listen to this hook, and you know when you learn more about writing and do more as a writer, you come to appreciate that stuff more. You know, rock fans are interesting because they're like, oh, anyone could write this bubblegum pop crap, and it's hilarious to me because I'm always like, that's interesting because your favorite rock bands cover these songs so that people will listen to them, right? Like these pop writers are elite, like they are the best of the best, and I think Chad from Nickelback said it best when he was like, you know, if people think it's easy to write the songs that I write, go do it, you know. Go do it, prove it. Like, and so Juanita and I really just appreciate really well written songs. Um, I grew up listening to, I would say Alter Bridge was probably my favorite band growing up. That band really captured everything that I love about rock music because a lot of bands growing up, they either had great riffs, like I listened to a lot of like old hair metal stuff growing up, like the 80s hair metal. I loved like the riffs and the energy of the guitars. But then I got into like Red and Breaking Benjamin and Shinedown, and these singers were such amazing storytellers, and everything was so massive and melodic and emotional, right? I kind of fell in love with Alter Bridge because they combined that for me. It was the first band that I found that kind of scratched that itch of like, these songs are like musically insane, the riffs and the solos, and but like they're not just complicated for the sake of being complicated. I'm a huge Mark Tremonti fan because I think he's great at knowing when to pull back and let something be melodic. You don't have to just shred through everything, right? And Miles Kennedy is one of my favorite vocalists ever, incredible singer. So we're all over the place. I get very burnt out on rock because I write it and sing it all the time. So you won't catch me just like listening to what's on Octane in my car. I'm usually listening to something pop or country or just nostalgic. Like I grew up listening to Bare Naked Ladies in the summer, driving to the pool with my mom and my family, and that's my happy music. You know, I love that band. So you know, we're all over the place.
I just
Sitting there in my
wanna.
head going, if I had $1 million.
Yes, that's my
I just
childhood.
just want to chime in real fast. I knew I respected something about Kyle. It turns out it's the fact that he also likes Dream Theater.
Yeah, we all like them. I mean, we're all suckers for a good, you know, 6 7 minute progressive rock song. It's fun.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
And
was wondering,
I'll just quickly say, you know, this new album that's coming out or that we're working on, that's probably something that we're, you know, we're Icarus was so polished. It was so like radio made, and that's not like that doesn't make the songs any less genuine, right? That's just kind of how we package them. We're letting a little bit more loose on this next record. You know, there might be a 5 minute song. There might be some more guitar work. You know, like it's a concept record, so we just kind of want to come unhinged a little bit and just do what we want and not really care about how short the song is or, you know, we're kind of breaking some rules on that. So that'll be fun too. But you were saying, Jess.
I'm trying not to interrupt. Sorry. Um, you have medical codes on some of your shirts,
Yeah.
and we were wondering like, where did you get them? Like, what do they mean? Like,
We just, you know, we've always talked about like as a band, the image on stage, you want to look larger than life. You want to look the part without trying too hard and being cringy, right? So like you don't want to be in like I don't want to be in dad mode in my New Balances and shorts. You know, if you're Limp Bizkit, you can do that, but we're not. And you also don't want to like, you know, you've probably been to a show where you see a band dressed up and you're kind of like, guys, come on, like you're not Slipknot, you know, like they're trying a little too hard. So like you want to kind of find that like middle place to be in, um, especially with like the nature of our music. You know, we're not super heavy, we're not screaming a whole lot, and so Like it can't be too theatrical. And I think the group therapy tours where we really felt good about that balance we struck, where I have this jacket that has the diagnostic code and it has the logo, and it creates questions. People want to know what it means. Um, and like I use the diagnostic codes of what I most commonly see as a therapist. I see a lot of people with PTSD, with generalized anxiety, with major depressive disorder. That's what I'm working with most often, right? And so I think it's a cool way to represent who we are through clothing without being too try hard, if that makes sense. I'm trying to talk the guys into getting like custom outfits on their own with diagnostic codes too. That can kind of be our thing, but
My girlfriend was the one that pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Oh, I never noticed that before." And I'm like,
Mhm.
And if I may, about the trying too hard thing, I have literally seen a band go on stage, all of them wearing a three-piece suit. That was the weirdest thing I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to be critical of other bands, but like, I just know that's how I would feel if I were doing it, right? And maybe that's an insecurity thing. Like, maybe it's not so much about trying too hard. Maybe it's about like showing something that just like very accurately represents who you are and isn't shooting beyond that mark or under the mark. You know what I mean? If we were up there with like devil suits on and we're wearing demons and we're like, I just think that wouldn't feel real. That wouldn't feel like who we are. We're not. You meet us as people. We're not. You know, these dark, moody individuals. That's not who we are. So I think that we wanted to have something that's just sharp, classy, and honest.
Elijah, I'm gonna let you take over the tour questions for overseas.
Cool. I'll see if I can find them real quick. Uh, uh,
We
Oh, okay,
definitely
found it.
didn't plan for it to go this way. Just saying.
You're
I'm
fine.
so sorry. I should point out that it is like 2:30 at the moment, and I'm usually well asleep by now. So I do apologize if I'm a little spacey.
You're good.
Um, so you said previously that there are plans to hopefully get to the UK eventually. Is there any like updates on the timeline of that at the moment?
We were supposed to next year. Um, it didn't end up going through. It's tricky. Um, there are a million different conversations that go into these things. Um, like, there might be a member of the band. I gotta be very careful here. Like, there might be a situation where a member of the band like has more serious financial needs that year, and going to the UK, we'd probably be lucky to break even because of the expenses of getting over there, right? So like, we are really excited to finally get over to the UK and to Europe and tour. It's just about finding the right time to do it and it making sense. And it's hard because like we're in the US right now in our own backyard and things are going really well, right? Like we're getting these festivals and there's kind of this strategy of like you play in Columbus, you build up your following, you use that as leverage to get a good spot at a festival, and then you go back to Columbus and you have more fans there because of the festival, and then you have more leverage and you go back and play the festival again. You know what I mean? And you're kind of building up those markets. We're trying to do that in Florida and Columbus and Michigan, and so it's hard to abandon something when it's doing so well. And we also know that like you can't play the same places forever, right? Like eventually you have to go and you have to um, oh man. I'm a very straight shooter. I don't want to upset anybody. I will say there is a very real possibility that we go to Australia before the UK. And the reasoning for that is that if you look on, you guys can't see this data, but on Spotify for Artists, there's this app you can use, and you can literally click by song and look at the top 30 cities in the world for that song streaming. You can't find a song in our catalog where the top three cities aren't Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. Like, it's every single song. And so, um, there's a fourth Australian city I'm forgetting that's listed there too, but like our top three cities across the board are in Australia. So, um, it's hard because it's like being a kid at a buffet. There's like a million choices in front of you, and you're like, oh, I want that. Wait, no, I want that. I want that. Like, it's all exciting. It's all amazing, but you just can't do it all at once, right? And so, um, we have agents telling us what they think we should do. We have different band members that disagree on what we should do. We have some that think we need to go to the UK immediately. We have some who are like, we need to wait until we know there are going to be people there that show up for us. We're looking at the streaming data. Sometimes the streaming data lies to you. There are places where our numbers are nuts. We'll go play a show there, and we're like, oh, that was like one of the lowest shows of the tour. And then you go somewhere like, freaking, oh, what was it? Um, Oklahoma City. Like, that was the throw-in that we're like, no one's going to be here, but we'll just do OKC. And we sold out a 1,000 cap room. It was one of the best shows of the entire tour. Albuquerque, New Mexico. We have no streaming numbers there, and we had a great show there too. So, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, there's so much that goes into it that people can't see behind the scenes, and it's not a reflection of us not caring. We really want to make it happen. But Australia is interesting because there's a festival that we're submitted for December of next year. I don't remember what it's called. It's not just a rock festival. I think it's a pretty. If I pulled it up in my text, I could find it. But it's a festival.
You know
in Syd-
where you know where it's held? Do you know
It's
which
it's in Sydney,
it is in Sydney? Okay.
and I know like bands like From Ashes to New have done it. I think, but if we were to get that, obviously we would not be flying to Australia for one show, right? Like we would try to make at least a week-long tour out of it. Um, but again, like there's a lot that goes into that. I have two young kids, and right now, if we were to go to Europe, the plan would be like we need to go there for 6 weeks. Like if we're gonna do this, we have to go all in. We have to fly over there. We need to be there for enough time to really like insurance, right? That we'll come home okay and not in debt. And so, you know, 6 weeks is just too long for me to be away from my girls right now. And so that's another factor. Like there's just a lot of things that go into all of this. But I will say, we're starting to feel the pressure, like a good, healthy pressure of like, we can't delay this forever. It needs to happen. They've been very patient. We have fans all over Europe, especially Germany, that have been very, very patient with us. And so we need to make that happen. Next year is very unlikely. I will say 2026, there's a very real possibility we can make something like that happen.
Can I
Wow.
ask you one thing, Beth?
Yeah, yeah.
We covered all of that over there, but like Canada's connected to America. Could you do a Canadian tour?
Oh, I know. That's a tough one too. Again, I'm a straight shooter, right? I try to be really honest. I think the struggle with Canada, if we did, and when we went to Canada, it was awesome. We had a great time. There are a lot of places in the United States that will pay us very well to play there. Like, for example, and this is probably way more information than any band would share at something like this, but I try to just be really honest. We were booking for this spring show, and I was telling our agent, I was like, hey, pull some offers from Toronto and Montreal. Let's just see what we get back. And they were atrocious. I mean, like, not even enough to cover our expenses, you know? And so we're like, okay, I guess we're doing New York and Boston, right? So it's tough because, like, as we grow, like, it costs $4,000 to $5,000 for us to put on a show. When you're in a tour bus and you have full crew and you have lights and you have all these things, like, that's per day. And so, like, you gotta have venues at least committing that so you know that you're not going to be in over your head at a show, right? And so Canada, we've loved playing there. We have some amazing fans there. That Toronto show was one of our favorite shows we've played with Smash Into Pieces. We would just need to find a way to make it work because, it's also hard to like get to places in Canada. Like the routing is really tricky, and you don't have. It's not like the U.S. where things are more compact and you can just kind of hit these places, within 4 to 5 hours. It's a little bit trickier routing from city to city, but we'd love to. We want to. Maybe we need to just do a tour where we keep our costs down and jump in a van and say, let's go do Canada for fun. And, we might have to kind of cut back on like, we won't have a crazy light show. We're not going to have, all the bells and whistles of a big show in the US, but I'm sure people would prefer that to nothing.
Well, I'm sure they would love to see y'all just acoustic playing too, because I enjoyed that more than anything.
That is something we talked about because that acoustic tours make our costs very manageable. So that's something we talked about. The one thing we'll never change is like now that we've had a driver, we can't go back to driving ourselves. It's just too dangerous, and we just value that too much. Getting sleep, and those are all really important things. But it's hard. I want to tell everyone, like I want to be like, yeah, most bands would be like, yeah, we're going to be back to Canada soon, and we'll be to the UK soon. Or I'm like, I'm not going to say that if I don't know it's going to be this year or next. But we really think that. I will tell you, like, we view Europe as a high potential place for us. Like, we think that our sound is probably more European friendly than US friendly. Like, we really believe that, like, these festivals like Download and, some of these German festivals and things, we think we have potential to move up the ranks there a lot faster than in the US because I don't know. It's like Alter Bridge. Alter Bridge in the U.S. will play 1,000 cap rooms in some cities, and then they go over to Europe and they play Wembley Stadium. Like we're not saying that we think that we're going to be like that, but we're hyped up on Europe and the UK. We think there's a lot of potential there, but it's got to make sense for our families. We've got to be able to afford it, and it's like releasing albums. Like you can't release everything that you have because there's only 12 months in a year. And you only have so much time, and if we do a tour in the spring and the summer and the fall, it's like, when do we fit in Europe? When do my girls get to see their dad, and when do they get to have experiences with me and connect with me? It's really tough to balance.
Well, I'll let Antonio take over part 3 so we can get y'all through this.
All right. So one of the first questions listed here, and honestly I think one that's really important to ask, is what's the hardest part that you find when it comes to creating the new music or writing the lyrics to songs?
The imposter syndrome.
That tracks, actually.
Thinking like, am I actually good at this? Like, do I know what I'm doing? There's a song right now that I have written for the next record that the chorus I think is great, and the verses I'm just like banging my head against the wall, and I'm like, I don't know how to write a verse. Like I forgot how to write a verse, and I think any songwriter can. It's so funny because we were recently recording some songs, and I just procrastinated writing the bridges until we were in the studio, and I wrote them in like 2 minutes, and they're great because I didn't overthink it. I just went in and did it. And so that's not always the case. I think sometimes some songs turn out great because you sit down and you're really meticulous and you take your time. But I think, like, I told the band about this record, like the band was like, because we're doing 18 songs for this next record. And they're like, are you sure you want to do that? People might think that we're oversaturating, or people might think that, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I have to stop. I don't want to make music in a way that makes people, like, it can't be about people's approval, right? And I read comments about people saying that we don't release enough, and I read comments about people saying that we release too much. And I hear people say things like, I wish they'd go back to the way they wrote on Relentless. Like, Man, anytime I hear somebody say like I miss their old sound, I laugh out loud because I was just so hopelessly lost as a writer, and maybe like maybe there's something to that. Like maybe people really liked the raw, less polished version of Jake, but it sucks as a writer when you hear that. Like, and I remember Shinedown dealing with this because they had their Sound of Madness record, which I love. It's one of my favorites ever. And like all they hear is like, I miss this sound, I miss this sound. And like for Brent, I can empathize a lot with probably what that's been like because you're like, I can't go back and be that person I used to be. I'm not that person anymore. It's like and you've put in all this work to be in writing sessions and get better at your craft and improve, and you're having people be like, go back to when you knew less, go back to when you were worse at this, which I have to remind myself that like it's well intentioned, and I'm really happy that they love something that I created, and I can't do it again. If you want to listen to Relentless, go listen to Relentless. But I truly feel like people can disagree with this, but I think if you go listen to the albums in chronological order, I think you can hear the upgrade in songwriting consistently going up as you listen to the records, because I've just been in songwriting boot camp. I've been writing with as many people that will work with me and trying to learn and get better. The one exception I think is that I think there are a couple songs on that Caroline EP that are better than anything on Relentless, if you ask me. But the imposter syndrome is really difficult because, I talk to clients in therapy a lot about getting out of your head and into your body, into your feelings. I spend a lot of time in my head worrying about like, is this part too long? Is this cool? Is this not? What are they gonna think? Is this gonna resonate? Is this gonna connect? But like, I make my best music when I'm just like little kid Jake stoked about the song. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah, absolutely.
that's what Burden was like. Like the rest of Icarus was so meticulous. Like me and Johnny Andrews like beat our heads against the wall, making sure every little hook was perfect. And I think a lot of the songs on Icarus are awesome. Like they're so fun to listen to. They're so satisfying. But like Burden was like, screw it. Like this is the song I want to write. It's not polished. It's just Jake. It's just like my thing. And it's the most successful song on the record. So I think the hardest part is like getting out of your head and into your heart and build like, and that's why I'm so excited about this record. And I told the guys like, I need this to be a concept record. I need it to be 18 songs because I'm excited about it, and that's all that matters. Like if I'm excited about it, it's going to be a great record and the fans are going to love it because I care about it, And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just making sure that the passion's not leaving. If it turns into this like corporate thing where I'm like, okay, like this song will take care of this, and this song will take care of this, and I'm like a CEO like trying to like manage this business, as opposed to just like, I think on this record that we're writing now, it's the closest headspace I've been in to Caroline, to when I was back into that headspace where like there's nothing to lose. I wasn't afraid of losing this. I wasn't afraid of failing. I didn't feel the pressure of people's livelihoods and their income on me. It's just like, I want to make this record because it excites me, and because like it feels like a passion project. So I think it's hard to not make fear-based decisions as a writer.
Absolutely. I don't write music, I write stories. It's one of my hobbies that I enjoy doing, and I understand a lot of that as well because, I've posted my stuff on various locations, and every time it's like, will this strike in somebody? And
Right.
It's terrifying.
Right. Well, and a better question I think is, does this strike me? Because if it does, it's probably going to strike somebody else. And I think I've heard so many stories about Chad from Nickelback in writing sessions saying things like, if we don't have goosebumps, nobody else will. And I love that. Like I think that that's something to to be cognizant of when you're working on things is like, does it make you excited? Are you excited to show people it? Because if you are, odds are other people will have that same excitement. It's contagious.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And continuing on, this one is I've seen several people talk about it in the group itself and all of the group chats and everything about how could they make music like what you guys put out.
I don't have an answer for that. Um, I think it just has to be genuine. I didn't want to be a rock star. I, I genuinely just wanted to create this passion project because I wanted to talk about some things that I was passionate about, you know. I think the intent is important. I was into songwriting in high school, but I never really created anything I was proud of because I didn't, life was pretty good. I had a very privileged childhood. I had nothing to write about, you know? Like I remember like trying to write songs about like concepts instead of just like what I felt because like life was good. I had to go like experience being human a little bit on my own and the ups and downs of that before I had something important to say. You know, so I think making sure some important self-discovery is happening before jumping into the creative side, like figure out who you are first. You know, figure out what's important to you, figure out what sets you on fire and what interests you and then chase that. Let the music just be a megaphone for that. Instead of you feeling like you have to like create this thing that people will like. I think music like that's released every day. You know?
And I do absolutely, agree a lot with what you're saying. Self-discovery is important in all aspects of life, especially when it comes to, writing and stuff. Because I used to, once upon a time, try to write stuff that was happy. But I'm not a happy person. I'm a dark fantasy writer through and through. It's what I do. So that is definitely important, completely. And kind of continuing on with writing the music, people have asked if there's any plans to do another heavier album. Not necessarily, I don't necessarily think they mean lyrically, I think more instrumentally driven in that regard.
Yeah. I love that stuff. I don't love screaming. Screaming feels forced. For me, it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like something I want to do. I know people don't want to hear that. I think we had some cool songs like, we have Wired for Worthless, we have Fever. We've had some songs where the screams I think were cool and really added something to the song. Growing up, I think a band that really captures this well, like screaming, but not just screaming to scream, like picking good moments to scream is Red. I think they do that really well. That's more what I see our future being is I just, it doesn't feel natural to me, but you don't have to scream to be a heavy band. Alter Bridge is a pretty heavy band, right? And Miles is the opposite of screaming, right? He has a very tenor-esque voice, a very high voice. And, this album coming up, I definitely want more interesting guitar work going on, like instrumental moments where it's not just the Jake show all the time. I think that can, like, I want to create an album that people are like, ICU had great songs, Scarecrow had great songs, Icarus had great songs, but like, this is a masterpiece. Like, this is something that like they'll never do again. Like, that's something that I want to make. And so as we work on this next record, and I won't spoil the name yet, but that's what I want it to feel like. With like the story is amazing. Like it's not just Jake; it's these different aspects of the band having powerful, special moments that complement. And that's the other thing is like it has to complement the song. I don't want it to just be like, oh, this song has a sick breakdown, because I want it to be like, what's happening in this song. Like what's like Good Enough for God is a great example of that. Like that song is very pop driven melodically, the whole song. And then you get to a bridge where like I kind of come unhinged. But it's perfect for that song because like it's like I'm talking very eloquently about all these issues, and I'm like, also, like, I want you to see how twisted this has gotten for me for a second, you know? Um, like this song has not been ugly enough to convey how heavy it feels for me to feel this way. And so it needs to feel like a genuine twist. It can't just be forced. Like, we don't want to be heavy just for the sake of being heavy. I'll always tease the guys. I'm like, guitar solos don't sell records. But it's also not about selling something, right? It's about creating an emotional experience. So, we've as I've become a better writer, I've probably leaned a little too into like how do we make this hooky, how do we make this quick, how do we make this a really well crafted song? When I think our fans are hungry for an extra minute in most of these songs. Like it's okay to have like instrumental moments where they can breathe and process what's going on and miss the chorus. Make them miss the chorus before you bring it back. Those are all things that we're going to experiment with. But we're heavily involved with our producer, same producer from Icarus, Kyle Odell, who is a great asset to have because he's an incredible guitarist. And so when we write riffs, it's like we're all huddled around Kyle, and we're all just like, I'm writing things with my voice, and Matt and Cooper have ideas, and Kyle's a wealth of knowledge, and I think there'll be a lot more of that on this next record, especially because when you have 18 songs, it helps me feel safe taking more risks and getting more weird, because not every song has to be the You Are Enough, or the Afterlife, or the My Own Miracle, the kind of shiny, radio rock song. You can get a little bit more weird. You can throw some curveballs.
Absolutely, and I do want to say, bringing up You Are Enough, I was really glad to be involved in making that fan lyric video. It was a lot of fun, and getting to see your reaction when Jess sent it to me was absolutely amazing to me.
It was awesome. I loved it. Like the fact that people like took time out of their lives to make that is just wild to me. It's amazing. We appreciate it. We really do.
And it was a lot of fun to do. Continuing on, there's been a lot of asking about like the writing process, and are you ever surprised or shocked by how receptive the fan base is to lyrical changes or other types of changes within the content of the song from what it was when it was teased to the release?
Yeah, people get attached to stuff, and I have my own opinions. Like I saw someone comment like, the older everybody hates you was better, and I'm just like, stop it, stop. Like I respect your opinion, but your opinion's wrong. I'm joking, of course. This is all tongue in cheek, but like, I see some of that, and that's the risk of teasing songs before they're released, is stuff can change. Like when we recorded this new version of My Name is Shadow, I rewrote a lot of it. But I don't think I ever teased the verses on that song, so no one will know the difference, which is good. But there's a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, I have to make the call. Like, I think the guys trust me to kind of be the CEO of the songwriting, so to speak. Like, everyone has a say, but like, if I feel strongly about something, I'll be like, guys, like, I really feel like this song needs to be on the record, or I really feel like this is what needs to happen here in this song, and I think there's a good amount of trust there.
There's a lot of hype and excitement over My Name is Shadow, and I feel like you should know that.
I've seen recently in the group like 6 different people throwing out ideas of what they would write on a verse for that song, Jess being one of them.
I'll be totally honest, it's not an idea that I ever thought would pick up any steam. I was really surprised. There are songs that we tease that I'm like, okay, it makes sense that they like that. Like Autobiography, I always knew was a good song. I wrote that with Kathy Summers and Nina Ossoff, who I wrote. And by the way, there's 5 songs on this new record that I wrote with them. They did Thank You for Hating Me with Me, Still Breathing, Irreplaceable, Afterlife. So they're awesome. But My Name is Shadow. We just got finished recording our acoustic record. That's done. And that's one of the songs on it. But, we threw some curveballs on there too. We're probably going to make people feel a little uncomfortable. we got we have this like badass metal rock producer on our next record, and the guy who we have doing our acoustic record, he's a pop guy. And so, like, we didn't do anything to take away from the emotion of the songs, but the reason we wanted to do that is when you just have guitar and piano on acoustic versions, like, everything starts sounding the same, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, he did a very good job, like, sprinkling in different types of production on different songs to help the songs feel like, even though they're stripped down, they have their own identity. I don't know if that makes sense, but that felt really important to us. But yeah, that's done. I don't know how I didn't mention that yet. It's a 12-song album, 10 original songs, and we did a piano version of Let It Burn and a piano version of Weight of the World.
Oh,
that.
yes.
And so we're sitting on that. We have no idea what we're going to do with it. Like, it's done, and we just don't know when we're going to release it because we have this full rock album coming out next year that is important for, like, you know, we're promoting our tour and festivals and things. You want to have a full, like, an acoustic record can never, like, replace a full album for a whole year, you know? It's just not the same. But we don't know what to do. We're kind of like, okay, now what? Autobiography's on it. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the track listing right now, and I'm trying to think if any of those other songs were like re-releases of songs that have been teased before.
I think someone mentioned to me, someone that went to one of your bus VIPs, was Core Belief on there?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Not make it. That's one that,
Well, we do have that speed run list, guys, if we wanted
Yeah.
to do that.
There's a speed run of two different things, actually.
Before you jump, I'll just tell you that Autobiography, My Name is Shadow, and Bottom of the Ocean are all on the acoustic record. Then there are 7 originals that people haven't heard ever, and then 2 old songs that I told you about. But we have no idea what we're going to do with those. We'll see. What you were saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a... We'll just go ahead and hop into the speed run for old, previously released songs, you know, just yes or no. I'm just going to list off a bunch of them real fast.
That guy. Good.
So, any more song ideas shared, fully released? The ideas are Backup Plan,
Oh,
Sit in Your Shadows.
yes. Yes, but it's totally different.
Ooh. I'm excited for that, actually.
Sit in Your
Lifeless.
Shadows.
Yeah.
Sit in Your Shadows is on the next full band record, and it's the chorus is totally different. So people might hate me. Some might say, "Oh, I wish it was the way the old song was," but I think it's better. That's a Kathy and Nina.
Yeah. Lifeless Eyes.
Nope.
Bad Neighborhood.
Wow. No, because I stole that melody from Monster Made of Memories. Up all night, cause I can't sleep with a monster made. Yeah, no, I stole that melody, so we can do that song now.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Core Belief.
No, but that song is on my radar. That song's kind of in the same place that Autobiography was, where I'm like, it will have its day.
Hold On for a Little While.
My mom won't leave me alone until I do that one, so it will happen someday.
Alright. Invisible Scar.
Forgot about that. That one was a Kyle Odell instrumental that he just sent me, and he's like, top line something on this, like write something over this, and I wrote that. That song has a really cool riff too. Maybe. I mean, we have a song called Invisible, we have a song called If These Scars Could Speak. I don't know how many Scar songs we can do, but we're a rock band, so I guess there's no limit. Maybe.
Technically no limit there. I'm Fine, I'm Lying.
What's that one? Oh yeah. Um, I remember writing that one and being like, it's kind of cool because it's like the opposite of I'm not okay. Like I'm not okay, I'm fine. I don't know. Solid, I don't know on that one. Hasn't crossed my mind in probably a couple of years. I will say there's a song on the full band record that's very heavy. That's that concept. Basically, like I need someone to see that I'm falling apart, but I'm not gonna beg for it. Like I'm gonna keep lying about it, and I'm just hoping that someone's gonna see through that.
Imaginary Friends is next.
Nope, but another band might release that. I think I gave that idea to a different band.
Okay, that's interesting. Home Again.
Hmm. Probably not. That song is powerful, but it's a tricky one. I could see somebody misinterpreting that song as encouraging suicidality. And it's hard because the purpose of that song is like, don't judge people who make this decision, don't call it selfish because they were hurting, but it's a very thin line of like okaying it. Am I making sense here?
Yeah,
Like
that
it
makes complete sense.
very careful there. So not anytime soon. I'd have to revisit it and be very thoughtful about that.
Beautiful War.
Oh man, that song has been almost so many times. I don't think so. Not anytime soon.
Okay.
I'm just picking arguments. No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, there's been some interesting yeses and maybes in there. I will say that much. And Home Again kind of, I can see the fine line in the dance. So it's interesting either way, in my opinion. And the last one that we have here is Too Far Broken.
Probably not. Because we have Broken Like Me, and here's a tasty tidbit. When we pick songs for a record, it's like a front office for a sports team, like drafting players, right? It's like we have a big whiteboard and we're like, okay, like where do we rank everybody? Who should be on the team? Who shouldn't be on the team? And that's like we take the songs. I wrote 70 songs for this record, and so we had them all, listened through all of them, spent so much time arguing, and this you brought up Too Far Broken. There's only one song in that process that was straight tens across the board. That everyone was like, that song has to be on the album, and it's a song called Better Off Broken. And it's basically, again, in this therapy journey, it's when the client hits that wall of, this is too hard. And am I better off just being the thing? Just accepting that life is going to be like this, and that I'm not fixable. It's a really, really sad, tough song, and it's weird. So, but the fact that the whole band was like, this has to be on because the song is about the client talking to me, which is a very unique perspective. So yeah, probably not, because we have this big song that we're excited about with Broken in the title.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, like, 3 more questions real fast. The first one is more of one that I had thrown in there, because I always like to ask this when I've interviewed. I've interviewed a couple other smaller bands in the past, and I always ask this question, and I always will. When it comes to like the writing and recording process, is there like a standard way you approach it? Does it change from song to song? What is some of the more fun parts versus the more difficult parts, that kind of stuff?
The fun part is just watching it come to life, and like the moment you come up with a great hook and you're like, oh, that's it, But I mean, the songs are written before we're in the studio. I write chorus hooks. We narrow those down to the songs on the record. I finish the songs. We take them into the studio, and I'll write 3 verses, and make the verses kind of battle for the best verse. Like I'll be very, very thorough. But the fun part is just like, putting pen to paper. The fun part is when like the core of the song's done, and you get to toy with riffs and production and strings and like just making it like jump out of the computer. Just make it like larger than life. That's the best part.
Absolutely, absolutely. Always fun. Always great to hear different inputs. I've heard some people say, "Oh, well, we write the lyrics out first, and then we go and we make the instrumental, and then find how to make the lyrics flow." Some people say we start with the instrumental and go from there. It's been different every time, and it's always really fun to hear the answer to that one. The next one that I wanted to ask real fast is Limit. Somebody has asked if it's more about suicidal ideation, PTSD, is it about both? Kind of what was the inspiration behind that song?
Both. Both. For me, it's about ideation. I think for Josh, it was more about PTSD. I think that we kind of combined our stories there. Pretty straightforward.
That's really, really cool, honestly. It was one of my favorite songs off of that album. I will say, though, nothing yet has topped Stronger Than My Storm. That has been like an absolute masterpiece for me.
Love that. Awesome.
Yeah. The last question I'm going to ask before we decide if we want to ask the interesting little tricky question here is idea. We have a list of people that people would love to see you collab with, and I'd like to hear your input on if you would ever want to collab with any of these artists.
Yeah.
Echo.
Sure.
Daughtry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elijah. Not this Elijah.
Sure.
Hailstorm.
Love them. Would love that.
I Prevail.
Yeah, be great. Be awesome. Those would all be cool.
Skillet.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up listening to Skillet. Big fan of their Conquest record. When you collab with somebody, you attach yourself to them and their beliefs and their stances on things. And so I will say our priority is always making sure all of our fans feel safe and accepted by us. I'll leave it at that.
Some of John's views can be a bit extreme, so I can understand that. Shinedown.
Would love that.
Adelitas Way.
That'd be cool. They're a really good band.
NF.
Would be amazing. Incredible.
Yeah, and the last one we have here is Dayseeker.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're really great. I will say, I'm running out of time here, but I want your last weirdest question. I
Well,
want you to pick your punch wisely.
do we want to ask that question, guys? The one that we debated, if we have time asking? Because it is kind of out of left field at this point.
Go for it.
Do it.
So, we had debated this, of asking if we get enough traction on this, if it would be possible to do a My Name is Shadow release for Christmas.
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, I posted about it and we got 1,000 views within a few hours. So it was like,
I can talk to the guys. I'll do everything I can to make that happen. I think you guys have done a lot for us. I think, as much as we're like marketing minds, like how do we maximize every release and how do we make everything as successful as possible? I think sometimes people just deserve a treat and a reward and a gift, and I think that'd be the perfect song to do that with. So it's being mixed, so we'd have to make sure it's done in time, but follow up with me and we'll see if we can do that. Worst case scenario, maybe it's a New Year's gift or something, but and we can absolutely share it to the group before the rest of the world hears it too, so you guys can hear it early. I gotta jump. I
Thank you for your time.
How much I appreciate every single one of you and everything you guys do for the group and for the people in the group and for us as a band. We love every one of you. We're really grateful. And yeah, let's make My Name is Shadow the group song. Let's make it something special for the group. So keep talking to me via email. We'll collaborate on how we want to do that. But maybe we can work as a team, the 5 of us, to roll that song out.
That would be absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for your time. Definitely
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Jay.
That was awesome. Thank you guys
Yeah, I
for.
was like, we need to skip over some questions so we
Yeah,
can get through
I
it.
skipped a lot of my section here
Mm,
because we were already over an hour before we were halfway through Jess's section.
yeah.
There
So
was
that
so much
was.
information though.
There was. We got quite a bit out of that. Thank you again to everyone who took the time to watch this video. Much appreciated, much obliged. Stay excellent. Please comment anything you guys want, whether you're from the group watching this video or somebody that just stumbled across my crazy channel of my VODs, my interviews, and my reactions to songs that the bands let me play on my stream. With that being said, thank you all so very much. Stay excellent, and I will see you guys again soon, hopefully. Peace.